In this video, we're going to see the difference between past perfect and past perfect continuous. In another video, I explained the difference between past simple and past perfect. Past perfect is the auxiliary verb had plus the third column if it is irregular, or the verb in ed. For example, I had finished, she had eaten, we had opened, or they had drunk. In the past simple and past perfect video, we saw that we use past perfect to talk about actions that happen before past simple. For example, when I arrived, my mum had already cooked my dinner. Okay, so we use past perfect for the action that happens first. In this case, my mum cooked the dinner first, and then I arrive later. Another example is, I had my dinner after I had cleaned the house. So first I cleaned the house, and then I had dinner. It's important to understand this, to understand when we use past perfect continuous as well. So in that way, past perfect and past perfect continuous are the same. So we use them to talk about something that happened before the past simple action. Let's look at what past perfect continuous is. If you ever hear the word continuous, you know that the tense is going to have ing. Okay? So, past perfect continuous is had, been, and the verb in ing. The had and the been never change. Okay? So the only thing that we have to change is the verb that goes in ing. So what's the difference between past perfect and past perfect continuous? Past perfect is I had waited, and past perfect continuous is I had been waiting. The main difference is that past perfect continuous focuses on the action. The action was still happening at that moment in the past, so it's focusing on the time that it happened. For example, I had been waiting for an hour when the food arrived. Arrived is past simple. So the action of waiting, I had been waiting, happened before the past simple. In this case, we use past perfect continuous because we're focusing on the process, on the time. So we said, I had been waiting for 10 minutes, right? So we're focusing on the time. Another example is for an hour when my mum got home. So first I was studying for a lot of hours, and then my mum came home, so that's past simple. It's past perfect continuous again because we say 4 hours. However, we don't always have to specify for 10 minutes, for an hour. Sometimes this doesn't appear in the sentence, but for example, you could say, I had been studying when my mum arrived. Let's see another example. I had been working at the company for 5 years when they fired me. Now let's look at some examples of past perfect so that you can understand the difference better. An example with past perfect would be, I felt bad because I had eaten too much pizza. So can you see in this sentence it's past perfect and not past perfect continuous, because we're not focusing on the period of time. Another one is, I had broken a bone, so I didn't participate in the competition. Now let's see a mix so that you can see the difference. She had been studying English for 9 years when she went to London. In this case, we use past perfect continuous because we're talking about the period of time. We said for 3 years, so she had been studying for 3 years. When I arrived at the train station, I realized I had forgotten my bag. So in this case, we use past perfect because we're not focusing on the period of time. I had been using the computer for an hour when I turned it off. In this case, it's past perfect continuous again because we're focusing on the period of time. So if you have an exercise and you need to decide between past perfect and past perfect continuous, you need to think, does it focus on the period of time or not? Remember that we only use past perfect and past perfect continuous when there is a past simple in the sentence. The past perfect and past perfect continuous happen before the past simple. So if there isn't a past simple, then we can't use past perfect or past perfect continuous. That's why you have seen that in all of the sentences that I have said in this video, there is a past simple. So imagine if you have an exercise with past simple, past perfect, and past perfect continuous, you need to see which action happens first and which action happens later. The action that happens later, after the other action, is the past simple, and the first action that happens is past perfect or past perfect continuous, depending on whether it focuses on the period of time or not.